Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of January 2nd to January 8th, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about them. And we got 4 stories to cover, including a report coming out over a game being worked on by Ken Levine, one of the folks who created the excellent BioShock series, though. May have been falling into development hell, though. We do have a report about the sales number, at least of right now, for Shin Megami Tensei V on the Nintendo Switch. We also learned about the possibility of basically some ideas regarding of Sonic Frontier, including how it may have came out maybe. It could have come out last year, but some issues may have popped up on it. And a recent report of a spotting that there is a possibility that Goldeneye, the 1997 game from the Nintendo 64, could be making its way over to the Xbox systems, to be exact, though. If you're curious where I got my information for these stories, though, I have links in the description down below, or you can click on the card. The links down in the description down below where I got source of these information, though. But excuse me. But before we get started, we're going to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and all. We learned basically, though, that apparently there is a PEGI rating for the possibility that Zombie Army 4 Dead Wars could be making its way over to the Nintendo Switch. Now, there hasn't been any confirmation from Rebellion or 505 Games. I believe they published several of the games, though. However, Rebellion has brought several of the Sniper Elite games over, including, Sniper Elite 2, 3, and recently 4 over to the Nintendo Switch. They brought the Zombie Army trilogies over to the Nintendo Switch, and they brought the game Strange Brigade over to the Nintendo Switch, only available as a download to be exact. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that Zombie Army 4 Dead Wars could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, though. We'll see if it pops up on the ESRB rating, though. We'll have to wait to hear an official confirmation, to be exact, though. We also learned that both PlayStation Plus and Game Pass released some information on what games are going to be out for the month of January 2022 for their services, though. Recently, Game Pass saw Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the Mass Effect trilogy, make its way on there, though, while Final Fantasy XII has made its way over to the PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now service, though. Both games are good in their own right. I enjoy Final Fantasy XII along with Final Fantasy X and all. I think those are really good Final Fantasy games, though. And the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is surprisingly very good, especially if you were somewhat disappointed with Andromeda, though. I don't think Andromeda was a bad game, but it felt like a game that could have been, shall we say, should have been cooked a little bit more in the oven, to be exact, though. But either way, both games are available on the PlayStation. Both games are available right now on each of the services, PlayStation Now and Xbox Game Pass. So take a look and see if you want to pick those games up. We also learned that what was a rumor, but now we're hearing confirmation this could be true, is that Death Stranding Director's Cut that was released on the PS5 is probably going to make its way over to the PC, which certainly isn't a bad thing, although that game is sort of controversial. It's one of those either you love it or you hate it type of a game. So whatever the case is, though, it sounds like it's going to be making its way over to the PC. We also learned that basically during that Koei Tecmo has sort of spilled the beans on some of the development during Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, though, and that is basically that trying to make the grass look like how it is in the Breath of the Wild, though, was apparently much more difficult than they thought, though. So it was certainly interesting that they were able to pull that off, especially in a Musou or Warrior style type of a game, though. We also learned that Sony has revealed basically VR2 during the CES 2022, though. Basically, it's their new take on the PlayStation VR and all that stuff. I'm curious to see if this will work or not, though. I'm not really a big VR person, though, but obviously VR hasn't died off or anything like that. There's still an audience for it, though. It'll be interesting to see how VR does basically how PlayStation VR 2 is being handled, though. How well Sony markets it, and how well, if there's enough people that will be willing to pick it up, though. We also learned that the studio that handled Excite Truck and Excite Box, though, has now been purchased has been acquired by a company called iRacing, though. So apparently this was the same studio that did two of the Wii games, the Excite Box and the Excite Truck, though. They also were the ones that handled the 3DS port of Xenoblade Chronicles, though. Which is pretty amazing, because that game can only be played on the new 3DS. It could not be played on the old 3DS. So that's sort of interesting to hear about that, though. We also learned that, speaking about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, it so far has shipped 4 million copies. So it seems as though, whether you like the Moozle style approach or not, it seems that people are willing to play it, though. And honestly, I prefer the Nintendo style approach when it comes to these Warrior type games, because I feel as though more effort is put into those games than, say, your average Dynasty Warriors or even Samurai Warriors, to be exact, though. So great to see that the game is doing very well, though. We also learned that basically the development team behind Triangle Strategy and Bravely Default will be planned to announce multiple games this year, though. I'm curious to see what kind of games they are developing, though. If I had it my way, though, I would like to see a sequel to Octopath Traveler. As much as I would like to see a Bravely Default 3, though, something tells me that one's probably going to be years away. So I would say the next best thing would be maybe a remaster or a remake of the first Bravely Default and Bravely Second that were released on the 3DS. Bring those over to the Nintendo Switch, or something brand new like we've seen with Triangle Strategy, though. So we'll have to see basically have to see what the development team are going to announce, though. We also learned that basically that Limited Run Games is going to run a special with Castlevania in regards of the 35th anniversary, though. It basically has to do with 2 games, to be exact. I'm not sure what those games are, but it seems to be they're doing it better than what Konami's doing with the 35th anniversary, which is they're pushing that NFT crap out there, which obviously not everyone out there is very pleased about. So that certainly is, at least Limited Run Games is doing something better in honor of the Castlevania series 35th anniversary than what Konami is doing, though. Hell, even Netflix did a better job with Castlevania than what Konami has done with the series so far. We also learned that there is a content creators program that's being offered by Capcom to basically those who are content creators on YouTube and so forth, though. This can go both ways, though. I mean, some people may like it, some may hate it, though. I mean, I remember years ago Nintendo offered a content creator program, but not exactly everyone was thrilled about it. Some were not okay with it, some weren't, though. We also learned that supposedly a new device that supposedly will act as a high-end or a rival to the Nintendo Switch supposedly made the claim that they have solved the analog stick drift, or the Joy-Con drift, to be exact, though. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen, though. Joy-Con drift still remains an issue for certain Switch owners on it, though. I haven't really experienced it as much, though, but I can understand that. I won't ignore the fact that others have out there, though. We also learned that supposedly Naughty Dog is going to be sharing soon multiple game projects they have in production for the PS4 and PS5. Unclear what those might be. We know that a Uncharted game is coming up, though, but that's supposed to be a collection of 2 of the Uncharted games. I believe Uncharted 4 and another one. I forgot the name of the other one, though. And we also know supposedly there are rumors that they are working on a remake of The Last of Us, though, the first one, which to me sounds a little bit unnecessary, to be exact, though. As for maybe if they're working on anything new, though, I would say if I had it my way, I would like for them to go back and maybe bring back the Jak and Daxter series. That would be really great if they brought that series back, to be exact. Or develop a brand new IP. That certainly would be nice. Or maybe take a shot at something like The Order 1886. Maybe you reboot that series, to be exact. It had potential, but it didn't turn out to be as great as a lot of people had hoped that it would be, though. We also learned that supposedly that an analyst is predicting that the that Nintendo will release probably a next generation Switch in 2024 and does not believe it will be called the Switch Pro, to be exact. Obviously, a new year, we're going to hear about these Switch 2, Switch Pro rumors and all that. And while there's always a possibility that Nintendo could release a new Switch in 2024, the two big questions remain are, one, do they want to impact the sales of the current Switch right now, which is still doing very well, especially with the Switch OLED? And two, would they be able to have enough of these new Switches, assuming this next generation Switch is true? Will we still be in the chip shortage situation, to be exact? So there's a lot of factors to kind of take in on all of this, so we have to really sort of take those all in. But either way, it's just a prediction. We'll have to wait and see if this turns out to be true or not. I'm keeping my expectations in check and taking this as a wait and see approach, because we've seen these predictions before and they don't always turn out to be true. We learned that from at least an analyst is claiming that Mario Kart 9 is in actual development or not, which whether that's true or not remains to be seen. Again, like with the next generation Switch, it's sort of an awkward situation because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to still sell very well. It ends up on the MPT charts, even in the sales charts in the UK. So it sort of puts Nintendo in an awkward position. Would this be the right time to announce a Mario Kart 9, or would this be a bad time to announce it though? And it really, I mean, we're not seeing the kind of sales decline with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at this moment. So it's just sort of a very awkward position though. I don't doubt in my mind that maybe they are probably developing Mario Kart 9. They're just figuring out when would be the right time to announce it and all. And in basically the movies and TV show related part of the Quick My 2 Cents, we learned that supposedly the green light is going ahead with Amazon Prime Video with the upcoming Fallout series, with Bethesda being involved in anything like that. I'm going to take a wait and see approach on this one because I don't know if it will be good or not, especially it's the same approach I have with the upcoming Halo series on Paramount Plus. On the other hand, we've seen some movies or TV shows based off of video games that have done pretty well though. Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, the excellent Castlevania series is a good example, and even The Witcher seems to be sitting well with some folks. So this has the potential to be good, but at the same time, there are so many ways they could screw it up as well. So we'll have to wait and see though. Hopefully we'll see maybe a teaser trailer or something like that. So time will ultimately tell. And last but not least though, we learned that Mike Judge, the creator of the classic Beavis and Butthead, is basically bringing Beavis and Butthead back though. Supposedly there are plans for it to be on Paramount Plus, although it's still up in the air if that will happen or not. But sort of the idea seems to be showing basically some of the art sketch of a middle-aged Beavis and Butthead, and I am very curious if this happens though, how this would play out, to be exact though. Do the middle-aged Beavis and Butthead, do they score? Do they have kids now? I've heard rumors about them having kids or something like that. So it's just going to be really interesting to see what kind of shenanigans a much older Beavis and Butthead will find themselves into. Maybe find a way to take advantage of AARP or something like that. Maybe we'll see a new iteration of the Great Cornholio and all. So it's going to be really interesting to see how a middle-aged Beavis and Butthead would work. And should the show get revived, it'll be interesting to see if it will be on Paramount Plus or Comedy Central, and if so, will it be on the level of this middle-aged Beavis and Butthead, or would it be like it was in 2010 with the 8th season of Beavis and Butthead, which basically were Beavis and Butthead just being the same as they were back in the 90s, to be exact. So unclear at this time what kind of direction that they're heading though, but I am happy to see that it sounds like Beavis and Butthead are going to be making a comeback though. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Goldeneye, the video game. Now, anybody who has been a long-time Nintendo fan or been around during the N64 era remembers the game Goldeneye, the first-person shooter developed by Rare at the time, which was owned by Nintendo, though, and was based off the 1995 movie starring Pierce Brosnan, though. This game was considered by many to be kind of revolutionary at the time because it was the first time, at least at this point, that we saw a fully 3D first-person shooter, though. At the time, most first-person shooters were in the style of what Doom and Wolfenstein were, which, again, not bad. Those are classics. Those games are classics in their own right, and don't get me wrong, the new Doom and Wolfenstein games are excellent. I'm not against those games at all, though. But GoldenEye was very much, at the time, revolutionary, to be exact. It would pave a way for a lot of stuff that would be used in other first-person shooter games. And it was also the first game that came out before Halo came out, which introduced online for, like, consoles and all that, though. As far as whether or not a remake or a remaster, though, we did get somewhat of a remake in 2010 with Eurocom and Activision doing GoldenEye, which, again, wasn't a bad remake. It was certainly good, with especially starring Pierce Brosnan in it, though. But it did also, at the same time, it didn't have the exact same nostalgic as the original GoldenEye, though. Well, apparently, it seems as though we are learning that there is a possibility that GoldenEye could be making a comeback, the original one, in a form that could find itself back on, like, say, find itself on the Xbox systems, to be exact. In an article posted on GameSpot, it reads that, quote, "It looks like Rare's classic James Bond GoldenEye 007 might be heading to Xbox achievement for the game. Achievements for the game has appeared online as spotted by Wario64 and posted on True Achievement. Achievement pictures and GoldenEye's 007 thumbnails also appear online, adding to the speculation that the 1997 N64 classic might be heading to Xbox in the future. There are a total of 55 achievements worth 1,000 game scores, according to the leak. Based on the text of the achievement, it looks like both campaign and multiplayer are on the way. 2022 marks the 60th anniversary of the James Bond series. The company behind the franchise cheats today that fans should watch out for announcements, events, and new content across 2022. A re-release of GoldenEye 007 could be among the surprise announcements. It seems though nothing is confirmed at this stage. Years ago, an Xbox Live Arcade version of GoldenEye 007 was reportedly in development. Xbox boss Phil Spencer said the lack of GoldenEye 007 on Xbox was a rights issue, suggesting it was a business issue caused a holdup as opposed to any kind of issue getting the game running on the new hardware. The rights issue might also explain why GoldenEye 007 was not featured in the 30 game Rare replay package, though. Excuse me. According to Unseen64, GoldenEye for Xbox Live Arcade was in development at Rare in 2007 and 2008. Microsoft, Activision, the James Bond rights holder at the time, and Nintendo apparently agreed to a publishing deal. However, Nintendo Japan is purposely to have shut the project down for unknown reasons just months before its planned release. Now, obviously, we have to wait to hear if there's going to be any official announcement on it, though. But that would be an excellent nostalgic trip if that turned out to be a case, though. What I am curious to see is that should GoldenEye 007 happen, will this be based off the canceled remastered version? Would there be rebuttoning of certain maps? Could you play it in the old style, like the N64 style, or with updated controls or anything like that? So it would be really interesting to see how this would play out should it basically happen. I mean, will the game get a graphic overhaul in any way? Will there still be couch co-op like there was in 4-player multiplayer? Would there be online multiplayer and all that stuff? So there's a lot of questions should this happen, though. And last but certainly not least, would this even appear on the Nintendo Switch? I'm fully aware that Rare is now owned by Microsoft and all that stuff, but bear in mind, Some of their games that were on the N64 made their way over to the Xbox system and all that stuff, even with the original N64 logo. And it is worth pointing out that Nintendo and Microsoft are, shall we say, in a more friendly terms, though, compared to where things were like decades ago, to be exact. So the environment, the console environment or the gaming environment, it's a little bit different now. So nothing's been announced that if this is coming to the Nintendo Switch, but at the same time, I won't completely rule out the possibility this could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. But overall, assuming this rumor is true or not, it would be really interesting to see GoldenEye make a comeback, though. That game is nostalgic and holds a place in my heart, especially when I'm playing it during the N64 days. The question is whether it will live up the test of time and how well it will play on the Xbox systems, and whether or not this could somehow make its way over to, say, the Nintendo Switch and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with Sonic Frontier. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Sonic the Hedgehog, particularly Sonic Frontier. Now, Sonic the Hedgehog has its highs and its lows, though. While there are many Sonic games that are considered classics, to be exact, though, particularly the 2D Sonic games, though, the series has also hit some rough spots, particularly when it comes to 3D Sonic games. There are some 3D Sonic games that I think are good, such as I thought Sonic Heroes was good, though. I thought Sonic Colors, released back onto the Wii, though, during the Wii era, was actually good, though. Not the current ones, which, from what I've been hearing so far, the patch seems to be fixing the game, which certainly looks better, but that game should not have shipped in the condition that it was in when the game came out, to be exact, though. And a lot of the 3D Sonic games have sort of hit some rough spots, particularly Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic 06, which certainly was a low point for the Sonic franchise, though. But we've also seen success with the movie, like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which did very well in February 2020, despite delaying the movie from its original Christmas release back in 2019, and that proved to be very successful, though. So there are certainly, Sonic has seen some highs and lows. Well, recently, though, Sega was talking about their next Sonic game called Sonic Frontier, which, judging by what the trailer that they showed, it looked like it was sort of a cross between somewhat taking a page out of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and maybe Super Mario Odyssey, to be exact. Both are good games, I like to point out, though. Well, recently we learned that possibly that the game originally was supposed to come out last year, but Sega decided to delay it due to quality issues, though. In an article published by GameSpot, it reads that, quote, Sonic Frontiers was supposed to launch last year, lining up with the franchise's 30th anniversary. However, according to Sega's December investors Q&A via Sonic Stadium, the game release was postponed in order to increase its overall qualities. When asked by investors about whether Sonic Frontier was an open-world game, Sega asked them to wait for future announcements about details, but Sega mentioned that this game would not compromise on quality and it has taken on new challenges, though. Not only for this title, but during the development phase, we have been steadily conducting analyzing to improve the quality of the title before release, such as introducing game testing based on external evaluation, said Sega, and I have a feeling that it will become a good game and have high expectations for it. The topic of pricing also came up. Since Sega is focusing on the overall quality of Sonic Frontiers, the company wants to maintain its price by making sure the value of the Sonic IP is high. Sega wants to avoid a situation where it has to lower the price of the game early on in order to increase the number of unit sales. While not an exact science, sometimes a game going on sale so soon following its release could indicate poor reception or initial sales. Sega also said that the Sonic movie reached a significant amount of moviegoers, so it's important that the reception to the upcoming Sonic game is positive as well. As an effort of the hit of the movie, the situation in which parents and children of two generations can enjoy the Sonic IP together is increasing, so we think it is important to release a high-quality game at this time. Excuse me. Now, do I think Sonic Frontier could be a good game? Yes, it is possible though, and the idea of an open world Sonic game does sound interesting, assuming this is true. However, given the past history of Sega's handling of the Sonic games in the past and the quality of it, especially after the remaster, especially how the remaster of Sonic Colors was handled, though, which honestly I would not let Blind Squirrel handle another Switch port. We've seen how they've handled it, to be exact though. I'm keeping my expectations on check on this one. As much as I want Sonic Frontiers to be a good game, Sega has not been great in terms of handling the Sonic IPs as far as video games though. As far as movies go though, obviously that was handled better, and Sonic in 2020 definitely did very well. I saw it though. I won't say it would give Netflix Castlevania a run for its money, but it wasn't certainly a bad movie at all, to be exact. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is handled, especially with the introduction of Knuckles and Tails, though. So it'll be very interesting to see how that movie plays out, to be exact. But as far as the video game goes, I'm keeping expectations in check on this one, especially since we know the game's coming to the Nintendo Switch. I'm worried about basically Sega skipping on the quality as usual, though. Even though the movie did very well, a lot of parents may not, a lot of the folks who enjoy the movie may have different views of the game, especially since the quality of Sonic games haven't exactly been great, to be exact. So my overall take on this is that I'm glad that Sega made the decision to delay the game, though, take its time to really hammer out some of the details that probably need to be hammered out, to be exact, though. But at the same time, I cannot ignore the fact that Sega also has put out bad Sonic games in the past, though. So for now, I'm keeping my expectations in check in regards to Sonic Frontier. I want it to succeed, but we've seen Sega screw up the Sonic franchise before in the past, so I would say keep your expectations in check, at least for now, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with sales numbers in regards of Shin Megami Tensei V. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Shin Megami Tensei V, particularly the sales numbers for that game. Now, Shin Megami Tensei V was originally announced around the same time the Nintendo Switch was fully revealed, like around 2017, and that was a pretty long time for that game, and since then, there have been some back and forth of whether that game was going to happen or not. Some speculated it was canceled at the time. But at the same time, though, we saw the situation certainly played out with Bayonetta 3, which was announced at the Game Awards back in 2017, but then sort of disappeared off the radar, and many speculated that game was canceled, only to find out that wasn't the case, and we saw gameplay footage of Bayonetta 3 happening and all. And so the same thing happened with Shin Megami Tensei V. Well, now it seems as though we got reports about the sales numbers of how well the game may have done, at least according to Aulx. And if what Aulx is saying is true, this is certainly not bad, especially for a series that somewhat of a niche game and doesn't have the same kind of popularity in the way, say, the Persona series has, but still has a fan base, a dedicated fan base, nevertheless, though. In an article from Destructoid, it reads about the game, though, is this. Aulx released a statement to Famitsu in which it confirms that Shin Megami Tensei V has sold more than 800,000 copies since its release this past November. This is yet another piece of evidence of the Switch bump for franchises as its predecessor, Shin Megami Tensei V, which sold roughly 600,000 copies on the Nintendo 3DS. In addition to confirming the sales, Aulx once again teased its secret project that I am shocked it hasn't been leaked on Reddit yet. As I reported a few days ago, the developer is aiming for the secret aiming for this secret project to be a pillar of its category. The game is expected to launch this year, and hopefully, just like with Shin Megami Tensei V, gets a worldwide release at launch. Now, putting their secret project, whatever that might be, on the side, though, to see the fact that Shin Megami Tensei V sold that much is very impressive, indeed. It's really great to see that it certainly is doing very well on the Nintendo Switch, though, currently right now it's a Switch exclusive, though. No word if it's going to be coming to other systems, to be exact, though. I think there was a listing for it on the PS4, then it got taken off, to be exact, or if it's coming to PC or not. But assuming this is a timed exclusive and all, which I tend to believe most likely it is, though, it wouldn't surprise me if we see it appear on other systems at some point down the road, just like we saw with games like Monster Hunter Rise or Octopath Traveler and all, or Bravely Default 2. But in either case, though, it's nice to see that the game is certainly doing very well. My hope is that this, along with the upcoming release of Sentinel 13 Aegis Rim, if I say the name correctly, I do hope that this convinces Aulx to consider bringing more of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe some of the ports of the Persona games, though. I mean, we've heard how Persona 4 Gold did very well on Steam and kind of surprised Aulx in a way. Maybe this can open the door for them to bring maybe some of the Persona games over, or maybe some other games, like maybe some of the other Vanillaware games. Like I've mentioned, I would love to see Odin Sphere, Miramasa the Demon Blade, and Dragon Crown make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. So my hope is that the success of Shin Megami Tensei V hopefully convinces them. Although we've seen time and time again that despite certain games selling very well, developers aren't always 100% convinced. And Aulx has been known to be very, have come up with excuses for why they won't bring this game over to this platform, particularly to the Nintendo Switch. Kind of saw that with Famicom with the Yeast and the Trial of Cold Steel series, until they started to see how the Switch was sort of becoming the new Vita to a certain extent, and decided to support that system even more, though. So, I mean, it's possible, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, glad to see that Shin Megami Tensei V is doing very well, especially as a Switch exclusive, though. Here's to hoping that we see more support from Aulx down the road in terms of seeing more games come to the Nintendo Switch, to be exact. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with Ken Levine's new game that he's working on. This is the same person who worked on the BioShock series, though, and where it seems to be falling into development hell at this moment, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, I want to be talking about the game developer Ken Levine, though. Now, for some folks, that name should sound familiar to a lot of gamers out there. Some might remember him for developing the System Shock games, though. Others, however, may remember him for help create the BioShock game, particularly the first BioShock. I'm not sure he had any involvement with BioShock 2, though, but he did definitely develop BioShock Infinite, though, and those games were actually great. I mean, they are really great first-person shooters, great storytelling and all, especially the world of Rapture and Columbia, though, and the gameplay was also very good. It's one of the few first-person shooters, along with games like Borderlands, Doom, and Wolfenstein, games that I really do enjoy, especially that narrative single-player type of experience, to be exact, though. Excuse me, though. Now, I mean, however, his studio that his studio, I think, was called Iration Games. I'm sorry if I'm not saying the name correctly. When that closed down, the question was wondering what was going to be his next project or anything like that. Well, we do know that he is working on another game, but according to what we've been hearing from Bloomberg via Jason Schreier, which supposedly this article is behind a paywall, though, it seems as though the game has sort of fallen into what many would describe as development hell, though. In an article published on Push Square, it reads that, quote, it reads that a new report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier that project was originally slated to release as far back as 2017, though. Fast forward another 4 years or so, and Ken Levine's, if I'm saying his name correctly, latest game is claimed to be in development hell. Information comes via a source speaking to Schreier under a nominee in order to protect himself. They place much of the blame at Ken Levine's feet, who is considered a flawed manager who often struggles to communicate his vision and alienate or browbeat subordinates, if I'm saying that name correctly, who challenge him or fail to meet his expectation. The title and release window of Levine's next game are both unknown quantities, with many reboots and change in direction contributing to the long wait for the project to be made public. According to one of Schreier's sources, the team is optimistic that development is back on track. However, they estimate a release could still be 2 years away. Ken Levine formed Ghost Story Games along with 11 hand-picked members of Iration Games back in 2014, with the new studio now owned by Take-Two. The publisher apparently handed a team a blank check and free rein to do what it's like. While this creative freedom may seem empowering, the Bloomberg report speaking on how the project quickly spiraled out of control. A former employee said the idea and ambitions were great, but the scope just grew and grew without concerns for the team's ability to get it done by our fall 2017 deadline. Ken wanted to make a AAA game with a budget team size. It was never going to happen. Others describe Levine as charming, charismatic, but can also become moody and lash out singly out an individual while berating them in front of their co-workers. Half of the 11 former Irational game employees personally picked to help lead Ghost Story Games have now left the studio. Now, if this is true, though, assuming this is true to be exact, though, but if it is, though, this isn't really good. And to me, it sounds like there should have been some sort of, reining in on Ken Levine in this part if the allegations against him are necessarily true. And I guess perhaps maybe giving them a blank check, which, well, that sounds great, may have not been the smartest idea, especially since we're talking about a game that was originally supposed to come out in 2017 and we're now into 2020, and that now we're learning the game could be 2 years away. I mean, that's not exactly great news indeed. I understand game development takes time and all, but we've seen games that have fallen into development hell and not always turn out to be that great. I mean, look at two good examples are Duke Nukem Forever and Alien Colonial Marines are two good examples of games that fell into development hell, though. Hell, I mean, Dead Island 2 is another example. That fell into development hell. Same with Crackdown 3 to a certain extent. So, yeah, sometimes a lot of these games fall into development hell. It don't always turn out to be great. On the other hand, we've seen games that have been in development for a long time that turn out to be good. One example I could give is sort of like Red Dead Redemption 2 is sort of one good example of that, to be exact. So I'm hoping that cooler heads have prevailed and they could get this game back on track. But it wouldn't surprise me if this story actually turns out to be true, given Jason Schreier's history. Remember, this is the same person who broke the story about Anthem and the whole debacle from that's how that turned out to be, including ranging from crunch to the whole situation of the development of that game. And also, I'm more inclined to believe Jason Schreier's report on this, though, and given the whole situation surrounding given the past history of other games that have fallen into development hell. So overall, I'm hoping, assuming these allegations are true, I hope they are addressed though, and hopefully this means the game is back on track. But it does seem to indicate though that they should have been a bit more reasonable, including the fact that you want to do a AAA game on a budget title, which not necessarily a right thing at all. And perhaps maybe they should have at least reined in and maybe have at least give some freedom to Ken Levine, but maybe rein in certain areas to not throw the development off course, to be exact. So I'm hopeful things are back on track though, but it does worry me when a game's in development hell, wondering only a matter of time whether the game will be canceled, or we could see the game turn into what we saw with Duke Nukem Forever and Alien Colonial Marines. And obviously that's probably the last thing I think either 2K or Take-Two Interactive would want to happen and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this possibility that GoldenEye, the N64 classic, could be making its way to Xbox? Do you think this is a good thing? Are you looking forward to picking this game up if it's available on Xbox? Do you believe it's more likely could be heading towards Game Pass in any way? And do you think it's possible that that GoldenEye could also make its way over to the Nintendo Switch in any shape, in any form? What are your thoughts about the report about Sonic Frontier, originally supposed to come out last year, but decided to delay it for quality issues, though? Do you think this was a right move on Sega's part, though? Do you think it was the right decision to delay the game? Do you think that they should have released it last year for Sonic's 30th anniversary? Or you don't have a lot of high hopes that this game will do good based on Sega's handling of Sonic games in the past? What are your thoughts about Shin Megami Tensei V supposedly selling very well? Do you think these are impressive numbers in terms of sales for the game, though? Do you think this could encourage Aulx to maybe bring more games over to the Nintendo Switch? And if so, what games would you like from Aulx library do you think they should bring over to the Nintendo Switch? And last but not least, what do you think about this Jason Schreier report about Ken Levine and the whole upcoming game that he's working on that's in development hell? Do you think this story is accurate? Do you think Take-Two and 2K could they have handled this situation better, though? Do you think the game's going to turn out great, or are you worried that this could just be another Duke Nukem Forever or an Alien Colonial Marines kind of a situation? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!